The key to realism in art is the ability to represent the three-dimensionality of the subject, and the biggest problem most artists face is precisely that they are often thinking in two dimensions while trying to represent a three-dimensional thing. It's normal to start with flat construction lines, but the most difficult part is to turn a bunch of lines into a convincing, realistic form. So here is a 5-step progression that will help you make a 2D construction evolve into a fully finished, realistic drawing. To start our drawing, we first need to draw the big envelope. That's our stage 1. It's really fundamental. We go from big to small, from simple to complex, so it's important that we start with this big block. This is why the first step in the process is often called the block-in, and it serves as the more linear phase of our method. So normally, during the block-in, this is where you should have plenty of lines all over the place. However, here, with our objective being to go from 2D to 3D and to start avoiding lines, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a technique that's very interesting that's going to help us start with big masses of values immediately and big shapes immediately with charcoal. This is a technique called the wipe-off technique. The wipe-off drawing method, also known as subtractive drawing method, involves starting with a toned surface. Here I'm using gray, and then it's typically achieved by covering the entire drawing area with a layer of charcoal, and then the artist would then use erasers to remove some of the charcoal from the paper to reveal the lighter areas, effectively drawing by erasing. Here, FYI, I'm using Nitram charcoal, my favorite brand, and I'm using a Conte white pencil, and I'm also using gray toned paper. I don't remember the brand. By the way, if you're curious about the drawing method that I use and want to explore some of these advanced ideas more in depth and practice with them, you can check out my complete 10-hour drawing course, the Systematic Drawing Method. As always, you'll find the link in the description below. Alright, so back to our drawing. First, we cover the entire surface with charcoal dust. And it might look messy at first. Right now it is indeed a little bit messy, but don't worry, it's going to look great in the end, and it will help us with visualizing the 3D result that we're aiming for very early on. But even though we technically don't have lines with the wipe-off method, we still think in terms of lines. And to be more precise at first, we think more in terms of marks. Landmarks, visual landmarks, structure marks, proportion marks, construction marks. Everything we do, every time we measure, we place a little mark to remember a position, to remember an angle, to remember a distance. We start with very simple but very accurate marks, basic construction lines to establish the main proportions. The main mindset of our drawing here is really in geometry. We're not trying to make art right now. We're trying to more do some kind of geometry and measuring and judging proportions very accurately. A lot of measuring happens at this stage, and it's crucial to take your time with it. We want to keep every line straight and strictly linear, deliberately avoiding curves because we're trying to stay as geometric as possible. Curves are deceptive, difficult to measure accurately, so we try to break them down into a series of straight tilts that will just create a rough envelope. Think of it like a sculpture receiving a massive block of marble that has to be cut exactly to the right size to fit the dimension of the future statue that's actually inside, potentially inside. So right now, we're technically not drawing our subject. We are carving out the space that our subject occupies. See the nuance here? We focus entirely on the big picture, taking the necessary time to establish solid proportions before moving forward. If you imagine that your drawing is a cathedral, these first construction marks are like the scaffolding, and these very basic construction contour lines are the deepest foundations. And if they are slightly off, then of course the entire structure will collapse. So we want to make sure that we take our time, because no amount of beautiful ornaments and shading and details later on will fix a drawing that has poor proportions. After the big envelope, we focus on the shapes and try to connect them together. And we try to establish a 2D foundation with accurate proportions. It's a stage that's called the mass in. And massing in is all about refining the shapes, going more into the details. Before we were more on the outside, the contour, the envelope. Now we're getting in the details and trying to make sure that they all fit and that every little value shape is giving space to the other value shapes that are around it so that they all have space in this big puzzle in the end. So now we're evolving. We now see the subject into a series of value shapes. However, we are not really thinking in terms of values. Darkness, lightness, it's not really a problem to us right now. Before we switch to values, which is going to be the next step, we first need to make sure that the shapes are as accurate as possible and that they all fit together within the space of the big envelope that we have from phase 1. Again, we work with value shapes because that's what we have, but we don't think of it as shading. I want to reinstate that. And that's really the key here with this stage called the massing that a lot of beginners overlook. It's even though we have plenty of values to mess around with, we try to resist the urge to do any type of shading. And why aren't we doing shading when we have value shapes? It's because our proportions are not ready yet. So before we can think about the values, the 3D, we have to make sure that all the shapes that we have fit together and go together. Think of it like a giant puzzle. They all really have to be tightly in the right position. So it's a stage where we're essentially thinking about proportions. We're still essentially thinking in 2D, but we slowly move towards designing the shapes, designing the edges. We focus on the smaller proportions of the shapes. We focus on the inside of the shapes, on the negative shapes. We also focus on edges, soft edges, lost edges, hard edges. The goal is to prepare the transition from 2-dimensional to 3-dimensional thinking with a drawing that's accurate and that has reached a satisfactory level of likeness. Now we're halfway there, and only now do we start working on the values per se. Before, we were focusing on proportions and shape accuracy. Now, once our shapes are all locked in, that we have a satisfactory level of likeness, we can start shading by first methodically applying the values on the whole subject. And here is another pitfall to avoid: blending too early. You have to resist the urge to start blending like crazy. And I know that it's tempting because charcoal blends so well and so satisfying to blend with charcoal when you do it right. But instead, what you want is really think like a sculpture. You have to understand how the light source interacts with how you see the values on your subject. Everything in your drawing is either a light, so receiving and facing directly the light source, a midtone, kind of an in-between, or in the shadow. And your goal here is to group all your darks, shadows, and midtones into big families of values, and then key each individual value by comparing it to the values surrounding it. This is the big read of the drawing. We separate the world into distinct value zones, and we establish the volume of the subject like that. If you can't squint at your model and see a clear pattern of lights, midtones, and shadows, and then squint at your subject and see the same thing, then your form will never really feel solid like it appears in reality. This is the key to realism. It's observing something on your model and trying to replicate it exactly on your subject. So when drawing the values, we slowly move from shapes to value shapes, and we abandon linear drawing entirely. But here, it's important to say that we're still applying the values in a more separated manner. We apply the value zones, or we apply the value zones as stripes of values. It doesn't matter here if you can still see some hatchings or if your texture is not perfect. There will be time to fix this later on. What really matters is that you can observe the values on your subject and they look exactly like the values on your model. The fourth major stage, 4 out of 5, is modeling. It's the stage where we finally start doing the awesome blending that everybody loves doing. It's the stage where the drawing truly becomes three-dimensional. We move from a flat value shape to a form, and we try to describe the turn of the form. This is really where our objective is to make the drawing appear more three-dimensional. So we imagine that we're dragging our charcoal across the surface of the object and we're following the volume of the sphere, we're following the volume of the object. Here it's really important to understand light logic, the core shadow, the reflected light, the halftone. The halftone is mostly where most of the important things happen. It's where most of the subtle transitions happen, where the light surface, it's where the surface begins to tilt towards the light. Sometimes you want to shade by following the direction of the light source, and sometimes you want to shade across the form and go from dark to light and even out the area. Before that, in the value stage, we didn't mind applying the values in separated stripes. Now we want to unify those and really make sure that the gradient between the various stripes of values is accurately depicted. When we shade the strokes, they have to follow the curve of the object, effectively wrapping the light around the object to prove its roundness or angularity. The goal here is to caress the surface and blend the values from dark to light. The final stage is what I call the rendering. And this is a stage where we don't think about how do I make my subject feel more three-dimensional anymore. We think, how do I make my subject look more realistic? And the three-dimensionality is a big part of making it look realistic. But if you just only think about that, it might look kind of plasticky in a way. So you want to bring all the tools in your repertoire to make it look not only three-dimensional, but also realistic. And this is about selective focus. A great sculpture has areas with high polish and areas where the raw stone is almost visible. In a drawing, this is exactly the same thing. There is a hierarchy of detail. You don't need to render every single thing, even things that are all the way in the back. You only need to sharpen the areas where you really want to attract the attention of your viewers. You want to use your darkest accents, your sharpest lines, where the roundness of the form and the focus of the area is the most important for your composition. And you can let the rest of the drawing stay kind of atmospheric and somehow unfinished. Actually, by being carefully selective with the area where you really bring the details, you can create this impression that the viewer can just grab inside of the paper and reach out for the object. Because the areas that face the viewer the most are the ones that have the most finish and that are fully rendered. And the ones that wrap around and recede in the background are not fully done like that. So it really gives this impression that the object is just popping out. So this is the final part. This is where you have the most artistic decisions to make. It might not be the most decisive to an untrained eye, but this is actually what separates the experienced artist from the amateur. Rendering is the process of finishing, and it's the process of making the drawing an actual work of art. This is the part of the drawing where you have to make most of your artistic decisions. How do I finish this? This video is finished, but if you want to make your next best artistic decision, watch this one next, and I'll see you there.